Maybe you have a more modern and sober translation by Hadawi. Maybe read a passage first from that and then hear Burton by contrast.
Sure. So the Hadawi is interesting. Burton is based on what's called the Calcutta II manuscript, which is a fairly full and complete rendering of the tales. The Hadawi translation is based on this 14th century Syrian Galan manuscript, which was beautifully edited in the 1980s by Mohsen Mehdi, a famous professor of Islamic philosophy and best known for his work on the Thousand and One Nights. So Hadawi based his translation on that very carefully edited manuscript. He only has, to the dismay of many readers, 221 nights, although he published a second volume with all of the stories that we associate with the
But he doesn't even have the
Nights.
ending of the frame tale, which is totally perverse.
Right. Well,
as a literary experience.
Absolutely. It's a 19th century edition, in fact. The ending's always interesting to me. So Hadawi's is quite a stripped down, if you will, translation, a very literal translation. I think he doesn't embellish particularly. I love the Hadawi translation because I think it actually beautifully reflects the earliest Arabic manuscript. Why don't I read for us the description of Scheherazade, the great storyteller. She is, you remember, the daughter of the Wazir, who has run out of women to offer to the king, who marries a new woman every night and murders them the next day. And so his daughter Scheherazade, or Shahrazad as she's known in this translation, volunteers herself. Needless to say, the Wazir is not enthusiastic about this offer. And here's how she's described. The older daughter, Shahrazad, had read the books of literature, philosophy, and medicine. She knew poetry by heart, had studied historical reports, and was acquainted with the sayings of men and the maxims of sages and kings. She was intelligent, knowledgeable, wise, and refined. She had read and learned. What I find particularly interesting about that description is, of course, there's nothing about Scheherazade's beauty, which we assume she's a beautiful woman, but this is all about how intelligent she is, how much she knows, how learned she is. So here's what Burton has to say. This is how he describes Scheherazade. Now he, the vizier, had two daughters, Shahrazad and Dunyazad Hight, of whom the elder had perused the books, annals, and legends of preceding kings, and the stories, examples, and instances of bygone men and things. Indeed, it was said that she had collected 1,000 books of histories relating to antique races and departed rulers. She had perused the works of the poets and knew them by heart. She had studied philosophy and the sciences, arts, and accomplishments, and she was pleasant and polite, wise and witty, well-read and well-bred. So you see in that last part, you hear the alliteration, pleasant and polite, wise and witty, and then you get the rhythm, well-read and well-bred. So playing on that sajja, the rhyme prose there. It's much longer than the Hadawi, much more embellished, and of course there is a footnote in his inimitable fashion in which he explains the derivation of the names Shahrazad, Persian, equals city freer, and Dunyazad equals world freer. So he goes on to explain at length what their names mean.
It's really fascinating, and she becomes almost a Richard Burton. She's collected 1,000 books.
Yes, that's right.
She's a great...
That's right. She is this all-knowing, all-wise woman.